everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's with me tonight?
Michael K. Hughes, and you can scream now if you want.
Bill Tucker, it's time to get nasty.
I didn't even think of anything. I was like, I don't
You
even
really
care.
didn't. Wow. You're usually the most clever of all of us.
Normally, but this was not a movie that... This movie hurt me in places. Bill... What I should say before is one, we are covering this movie because after we finished phase 2, it was time for Bill to pick a comic book movie for us to all watch. And why don't you let him know what you picked for us?
I picked the 2005 classic, maybe? I would say classic, Sin City, which is a adaptation, or as Robert Rodriguez puts it, a translation of the Frank Miller series of books. Again, released in 2005, directed by Robert Rodriguez of Desperado fame and Once Upon a Time in Mexico and Spy Kids.
Wow.
He did most of the Spy Kids movies. Yeah, and good friend of Quentin Tarantino. So, and this is a very pulpy, extremely faithful adaptation of the extremely dark, violent, and crude and crass and kind of amazing Frank Miller comic. So I thought it'd be interesting. This isn't capes and flying people and superpowers. This is a take on kind of more of the darker side of, I guess, comic books. And I don't know the books very well. I don't know any comic books well. But I figured it'd be an interesting conversation, if nothing else.
This is one you don't need to know very well, I'm pretty sure, because now I have absolutely no interest in ever picking up this book in my life. So.
The collector's edition DVD, which is sitting to my right, I was really into this back in 2005. This was super my wheelhouse. So I do have the collector's edition DVD. It has actually the entire Marv book in it. It came with it. And it's almost shot for shot. I mean, you could read this book and not see this movie as far as just what's inside it. And I don't know if this was done specifically for this version or if this is what the book actually is. But Rodriguez definitely wanted to be as faithful as humanly possible to the source material. He really loves it. And we will get into the way this movie actually really does work quite well. And I think where sometimes goes over the line and where that line is. Because I think that's actually where the interesting part of this is.
I have a very important thing I got to mention before we go any farther. If I remember correctly, your favorite movie is Pulp Fiction, right?
No, it's not my favorite. No, if you want to talk about Tarantino, my favorite Tarantino movie is actually Jackie Brown.
Good movie.
I think the bail bondsman is the best character he's ever written or at least adapted, because that is an adaptation. It's the only movie he's ever done that's an adaptation. So, no, I think Jackie Brown's better, but Pulp Fiction is like a top 3 as far as Tarantino goes.
As we watch this movie, I'm like, this is a lot like Pulp Fiction.
And not to get too off the beaten path, but if you watch Pulp Fiction again with like clear, unfettered eyes, like unnostalgic eyes, there are some dead zones in that movie that are like, oof, this could use some trimming. Like, we don't need this scene at all. We're just talking. Like, there's nothing going on here. Just two people talking about nothing that's moving the plot or telling us about characters. So, but anyway, off topic.
Okay, I couldn't remember, and I felt like that was an important thing to add to here because I knew you liked it a lot.
Well, I like Tarantino a lot. I've seen all of his movies multiple times, and I think he's phenomenal. He's an incredible director, and Rodriguez is very similar too. They're kind of genre directors. Well, Tarantino especially, and this is definitely a genre type pulp. Film noir, pulp noir style comic book movie. So it falls in his wheelhouse well.
I've never seen all of it before. I've seen parts of it before. I remember the beginning, and then that was about all that was in my head. I realized because everything else was different.
I saw this. God, it must have been shortly after it came out on DVD. I remembered that Jessica Alba was a stripper and Elijah Wood was a cannibal, and that was pretty much it.
Frodo. Yeah. That's what happened when Frodo keeps the ring.
That's it. Yeah. And lets his nails grow out. Like, seriously, dude, get yourself some clippers. Come on now. Seriously.
Man, and one thing I do got to say about this movie, it did pack a lot of stars in. I couldn't recognize half the damn stars, but it packed a lot in this movie.
Yeah, I definitely recognized a lot of they like you said, they aren't quite represented well. Well, that's poor choice of words. Like, I didn't realize Mickey Rourke was Marv until I looked it up. It's like, oh, geez.
That's because the only movie I know Mickey Rourke from, and I'm assuming you might be the same, is when he plays the Russian.
And I'm in too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that movie.
he's extraordinarily ugly. He's your favorite. I know. Remember this that whole discourse from Iron Man 2 when we were
A
talking
long
about
time
that.
ago.
Yeah. This movie is an interesting movie as far as how it was filmed too. It was from what I understand, Rodriguez he shoots a lot of stuff at home because after the success of Desperado and of course Spy Kids, he just stays at home and shoots stuff. He has his own studio. He's a huge proponent of digital editing and digital photography, and so he basically shot most of this movie with stand-in actors and then brought in the real actors for a couple of days to just superimpose them upon the shots. I don't think anything in this movie is real, like set-wise. I don't think there's a single real set in the entire movie. Everything is, green screen. It's a green screen movie from beginning to end. And if I'm wrong on that, please feel free to at me. You can. I'm not going to pay attention to you if you do, so it's fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. But
it can't
like
be real.
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically. Right.
Oh, God.
So, and that kind of lends itself a lot of the surreal nature of this, where it just doesn't feel real or nothing seems integrated, even though it kind of is. It's got a very interesting visual style, which most people like this movie for. I do too. I think it looks beautiful at parts. There really are some stunning shots, and to go with a lot of the brutality and the horrendous acting and horrible writing. But those things balance out. So.
And before we get too far, we are going to talk about a couple like touchy subjects like child murderers and rapists and all sorts of things like that. So just been warned because it might come up because this movie is batshit insane. So there's my warning.
It wasn't as insane as I remembered. Honestly, I remember there's a couple of parts in this movie where I was actually laughing. And I'm like, should I be laughing? And then my brain's like, oh no, yeah, you can laugh. This is okay. This is cartoon Wile E. Coyote stuff. Like, it's fine, just perfectly fine. You're allowed to laugh. And some stuff where it kind of goes over the line, but we will continue onward with that.
This movie starts off with something like I didn't understand the beginning at all because I had no you just see a random guy, which is another famous actor, Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Who ended up doing nothing after this because he was a huge star for maybe 5 years, and then it turns out he decided to stop acting. It's like, I'm not able to expand my creativity in the Hollywood scene, so bye. Like he was a star of Black Hawk Down, which is a major hit back in that era. So it was just interesting to see him. What's that?
40 Days and 40 Nights.
Yeah, 40 Days and 40 Nights. Yep.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Never
so anyway,
seen
I'm
it.
sorry.
Oh, you're good. Okay, that was just weird to me how he's in like this very opening for like 2-3 minutes or maybe like 5 minutes, and it didn't make any sense. He's just dancing with this girl, which I don't know if she was someone famous too or not. I didn't really pay that much attention. And then she kills her. Like it was just very strange to me, and I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's all mood setting, right? It's basically kind of showing you this is what this movie's going to be. We're going to have a lot of rain, always raining in Sin City because it starts to rain as he's doing his little monologue. It's just mood setting. It's cool. I think it's actually a really well done scene. I think it's very effective. Yeah, as far as setting tone for what to expect, it's very effective, and I think they're both really good in that scene actually. So
okay.
I think what stood out to me first was the black and white, how there be splashes of color every now and then. Because like in that scene, it's her dress and her lips, and then when he mentions her eyes, they kind of glow a little bit. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
There's only one person's eyes that grabbed me every time they were on screen.
Yep.
But that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, no, this whole movie's view, I think, has. I love the visual styling of it. Again, sometimes the effects work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're very dated, but I do think this has a stunning.
Blade 2.
Yeah, not as bad as Blade 2. I think this scene is really well done. It's really again a great table setter for what we're gonna have for the next hour and 45 minutes.
It was a 2-hour-long movie.
It's 2 hours.
It felt like longer.
I felt so bad for Mike because he's not into horror movies, and I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, he's gonna hate this, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna hate this too, and I'm like, oh.
Not gonna lie, I think the discourse about this movie is gonna be pretty interesting, but I also kind of sort of just wanted to get your reactions on watching something that was a lot of
outside my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I want to put you outside your comfort zone because that's usually makes for good podcast material and good reactions. So yeah. But yeah, and then we get to our credits, which is all the scenes in the credits are drawn from the comic, right? So as they're showing the actors and actresses' names, Behind that, they have the black and white drawings from the actual comic itself. The huge cast, like you said, like a big all-star cast for 2005. I mean, we're coming up on Clive Owen. Like the year before, he was nominated for an Oscar for Closer. Like,
he's a good actor in some movies. He was in a bank robbery movie that's really good, but I can't remember the name of it.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember though. Huh.
I just remember I really like it where he keeps like they don't realize that he's part of the crew or something and he's faking it the whole like it's. But I wish I could remember what the hell it was called. I just remember being a very good movie.
Yeah, I don't remember. But
that's great podcasting. But it's just weird. It was just such a weird movie. Inside Man.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. That's a good movie. If you have never seen it, go watch it. So
right.
There's my. Don't watch this movie. Go watch that.
Okay.
But this movie just really creeped me out. Even like. Because like I was confused for a little bit because like, the movie starts off, you have that, then you get the Bruce Willis's character, and Bruce Willis's storyline. It's not very long in this initial little chapter, and I was like, at first I thought, okay, we have Bruce Willis, and then he gets shot. I'm like, is that the end? I mean, I'm like, they just put him on the cover just to sell the movie, and he's done. I'm like, what the fuck? Wrong, but.
I mean, yeah, it's fine. He's so this gets us into the second chapter, like you were saying. It's called The Yellow Bastard, or That Yellow Bastard. It's the first part of it, and this kind of bookends towards the end. So surprise, surprise, he's not dead at the end of this piece, but
somehow he's shot like a dozen times.
I know. Well, when you use plastic bullets, I guess it's not a big deal. So yeah, this kind of sets up now what this is the film noir. Rich in that kind of idea of, again, slashing rain, and you have lots of angles, and, of course, the black and white and the lighting is very evocative and stark and sharp. The acting is terrible. Bruce Willis, of course, is cliche cop number 85.
Yeah, he's just playing old man John McClane.
He's old. Yeah, he's right. He's old man John McClane. He's going to be retiring soon. My wife's got a fat, juicy steak waiting for me. And
I'm like, bum ticker.
I got a bum ticker who says bum ticker in this day and age. Not even in 2005. He is off to do one last good thing before he shuffles off his career, which is take out the young Rourke, who is a pederast of disgusting proportions. He figures he's the last one he has to get, right? The last good thing he has to do. This is a movie that's comprised of 2 to 3 word sentences. Driving there, alone, rain on, wife's got a steak good. And everything is just literally 2 to 3 word sentences, which again is very kind of that style of the Frank Miller comic. Very corny, very cheesy, but it's kind of delicious in just how dumb it is. And it doesn't care. It has no care. It does not care how silly it is. Again, meets up with Mike Madsen, who, of course, is the Quentin Tarantino favorite, who's in a few of his films.
I was trying to figure out who that guy was. I knew he was in Reservoir Dogs, is all I recognized him from, but I couldn't place it really.
He's also in Kill Bill. He's one of the the 5. Yep, he's in Kill Bill. So he plays the in Kill Bill 2. Is his main part. He lives in the trailer and he works at the strip club, and he's kind of like the disgraced assassin who's just kind of said, forget it, I don't care about this at all.
Maybe that's where I recognize him more from, Kill Bill.
Yep. And he's been in a couple other things too. Just pops up here, there, and everywhere in Tarantino movies. Kind of a guy Tarantino will throw him apart. Hey, here, you got nothing else doing this weekend? Come on by, play this role.
Yeah, Tarantino's odd like that.
Yeah, he's loyal like that. Yeah, he has his favorites. So he has his buddy cop. His cop friend tries to say, nope, don't do it. We gotta wait for backup. And of course, he knows that's not going to happen. So he goes in and takes on the young little Rourke. Tries to find him.
That was weird too. Like this, because they're all trying to rescue like an 11-year-old girl, and this is where it just gets strange too. Like this guy Rourke, who is a senator's son, is a child molester and murderer, and it's just weird.
It's gross. It's really hard to watch. This is not pleasant material at all. This is kind of when you had your trigger warning earlier. This is one of them, right? This is definitely it. Obviously, you don't see anything happen to Nancy. Nothing. You don't see anything, right? Because that would have been just.
I think they also he got there in time before he started torturing her.
Yes.
Yeah. That's she has a line at the end of the movie that basically says that nothing happened before he got there.
Yeah, he was there in time to save the day, so to speak. But yeah, so and the cop is Harrigan. Was I right? Hannigan.
Hardigan.
Hardigan. So Cardigan with an H. Got it. Okay, Cardigan with an H. But yeah, the whole thing with Rourke and Nancy is hard to watch, but it's not supposed to be easy, right? Who's the actor who plays creepy to become Yellow Man? Plays him. Oh, you should look at this up first.
I'm looking right now.
He's not famous.
Booth. No, that's Senator Rourke.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nick Stahl.
Okay.
Who the fuck is Nick Stahl?
He looks familiar. Wait, hang on a second. All right. Pause the show. Put pause on this. No,
I can't.
John Connor in one of the Terminator movies. Terminator 3.
He is. He's in Terminator 3. Okay, that's what I remember.
Good movie.
It's fine.
I like.
Hey, listen. Arnold Schwarzenegger walks out of a grave with a coffin full of guns. I mean, all right. If you're not there for that, then I don't know what you're watching a Terminator movie for. He's
actors are not recognizable in this movie.
No, they're not. Maybe because they had stand-ins for the principal photography, and then they just came on for a day and had some fun. I
can't believe that's what he did. Like, he gets all these big stars, and all it was is little moments where they're like, "Oh, here, shoot a couple things. All right, back to what I was doing."
Yep. So once Mr. Hardigan shows up, or Bruce Willis, as I kept writing down because I couldn't remember his name.
I just said Bruce Willis too.
Yeah, when Bruce Willis shows up, he Rourke tags him, shoots him in the shoulder. They run off to the dock where they have their big showdown. And rather disgustingly, Bruce Willis shoots off Rourke's ear in very close-up, slow-motion fashion.
It looks like it's made of styrofoam.
It's
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
It probably was.
Robert Rodriguez is sitting in his kitchen, like trying to mold styrofoam with like an X-Acto knife. Hey, man, check it out. I got a great idea. You got some spray paint? Oh, don't worry about it. I'm just going to make it black and white in post. Don't worry about it. It's fine. 80% of this movie's in post. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
That's a problem, though.
Proceeds to then blow off his hand and then his nether regions. Happens often in this movie. Lots of people going for the nads, but hey, all right. Excellent. Then, of course,
is that.
Well, wait an hour. We'll talk about
I know.
Yikes. Okay.
It got to me. And I don't really care about stuff like that, but it was just irritating me.
It's not pleasant, and there's no reason. And again, that's a big thing with this movie is it's directly basically shot for shot redoing the source material. So you can't blame anybody for this. Like, you can't blame Rodriguez for it. Like, why'd you put that in there? He'll be like, well,
blame that other guy.
Well, Frank Miller, who also directed it, he's credited as a co-director on this movie. So that's the guy I guess you have to blame, quote unquote. But again, I don't really think there is any blame to be had because you kind of know what you're getting into. Like, this is your first 10 minutes, really. And this is setting the scene. And this is basically telling you, audience, look, this is what this is. This is what we're here for. So if you don't like it now, either turn it off or leave the theater. Maybe you get your money back, maybe not.
Can't confirm.
What's that?
I can't confirm. I checked the times like 15 minutes and I'm like, oh, Jesus, there's another hour and 45 minutes of this. Oh, man.
I was super into this as a kid. When I was 2005, I was 25 and I was super into this. Again, not now. Right? I'm grown up now. But there's lots of interesting things. I do think this movie has a lot of beautiful stuff in it. So,
and I can say it is beat for beat in the comic of the movie. Because I'm looking at the comic right now. It is beat for beat.
Yeah, even visually, even from the staging of the actors to the way the actors look to their framing, it's like, yeah, it's exact. So, and
the colors too, and like the ear blowing off, that's right from the comic too.
Yep. Yeah, nearly every shot it's shot for shot. So, which is a pretty much, hey, listen, talk about adapting a film. I think actually, Tarantino, after Rodriguez labeled this as like a translation. He didn't consider this an adaptation. He considered it a translation. Like, I'm taking this comic book and I am putting it on the screen. I'm not adapting it. I'm not changing it. Putting it on the screen in a very visually stunning way. Anyway.
Yeah, even the lines from here are straight from, like, the dialogue he's in the movie is straight from the comic book too.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable when you look at it in that way.
I don't get why he had to shoot his nuts off and everything. He just shoots the guy. The guy deserved it.
Well, there's lots of themes in this about masculinity and emasculization. What? That's not a word. And the removal of masculinity, right? There's lots of that, of having to get this done, I got to do it for the girl. This kind of like this old-fashioned idea of masculinity and heroism. Which I think is a little old-fashioned even for that era. And so I think that might tie into it. I could be looking into this way too deep. and trying to find stuff to talk about. But it is interesting that this happens multiple times throughout this film. That is a common theme or a common occurrence. So
Yeah.
more than three times is a common occurrence. So Mike Madsen shows up from behind, shoots Bruce Willis in the back. Bruce Willis has this very stupid line in a movie full of stupid lines. He goes, "Oh, that's great. Such a man. You shoot your old partner in the back." I'm like, dude, you punched him in the face. You broke his glasses.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I mean, hey, fair is fair. I mean, So I just kind of thought that one, and then blows him away. Boom, boom, boom. Sirens in the background. And Hartigan says, fair trade. Old man lives. Old man dies. Young girl lives. Fair trade.
I really thought that was the end of Bruce Willis in this movie. I'm like, wow, they just used him to get the movie produced.
Yeah.
That's how it felt at first, because I didn't realize that he comes back later. I thought that was I'm like, oh, that's all they did with him.
I mean, it's like putting Spider-Man on the cover of Marvel Comics when he's only in one panel just to sell the comic. So,
really?
It's not unheard of. Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And it wouldn't be the first time I've seen a movie where an actor's on the cover, but they're not actually in the movie.
No, yeah. I mean, it happens, It happens awesome. Featuring this person, featuring that person. Music, same thing. Featuring Taylor Swift, and she's in the background going, and that's basically her feature. Yeah.
Or there's always somebody's watching me, like that song featuring Michael Jackson.
It's a great song.
It's a great song.
Great song. You should. Oh yeah, never mind. Anyway, it's a great song.
And then it takes a weird turn. Like, this is where I got really confused. Is after he dies, it jumps to the main storyline that I considered in this movie, which is called The Hard Goodbye.
The Hard Goodbye.
And I gotta say, Mickey Rourke never looks like, I don't know what the fuck Mickey Rourke looks like, because he just looks like whatever the hell they throw on him and throw him in the movie.
So in my notes, I have him as he's a mix between a Dick Tracy villain, Max Payne, Tombstone from Spider-Man, and Duke Nukem in this movie.
Wow.
He's some combination of all that.
Yes,
also
he is.
Wolverine.
Oh,
He can't fucking die.
Yeah, he's got some Wolverine steez. Yeah, hit him with the car 3 times at top speed. It's fine. Just get up and stagger to his own.
God,
No problem. Not again. You know what? If ever I say this is dumb, it is dumb, right? But you know what? In the back of my brain, I can see Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino turning their heads going, whatever. And then turning back to whatever show they're watching. They don't care. They know it's dumb, but who cares? Enjoy yourself. Take it in for what it is. And I think that's how you have to approach this movie.
And I guess I didn't know this, but the comic, the actual Sin City comic, that is the story of The Hard Goodbye, it looks like, where he wakes up and Goldie's dead and you have all that whole weird thing.
Yeah, so Sin City is a series, again, I think 6 books, and these are 4 of them. And I think the other film does the other 2 or 3. So this is basically a series of books that Frank Miller wrote many years ago. And this is just focusing on 3 or 4 of the books in that.
1991 is when it started.
Wow. Okay. Whew, okay.
And it ran to 2000. Except also with Frank Miller, one thing that I don't know if everyone realized, he got to a certain point where he wrote comics just to sell a movie. That's all he did. He would write a concept, make up something, make a couple issues just enough for a movie, then he would cut the series and move on. And that's how he's made so many movies because of that.
What a maverick. God, or not maverick. What a mercenary. Dang. Okay.
So that's kind of what he does. And I know people in the comic world, some people don't like him because all he's trying to do is make movies.
Interesting.
So it's like 80s cartoon executives who made cartoons just to sell toys.
Yeah.
It's still going on to this day.
Oh, yeah, but that's where it started, I feel.
Yeah. Hey, how about let's get the GoBots out there to American audiences. We were a GoBots house at my family. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. Them things were cheaper.
Yeah. Also, I watched that Transformers Toys That Made Us not too long ago.
Yep. It's pretty good.
Really
So you start off with Rourke. We meet him in the throes of passion with Goldie.
That made no sense to me.
Well, I mean, it everything is dropped in without context, right? So you Bruce Willis dies. Next thing we have is hanky panky with an extraordinarily ugly man and a extraordinarily beautiful woman, and you're thinking, okay, what's going on here? Strange, but again, no context, just kind of throws you in there. Turns out he wakes up the next morning. She is dead. He is baffled that this happened because no one sneaks up on Mickey Rourke, because he is Mickey Rourke, and decides that he is going to avenge her. Even though he's only known her for one drunken night.
And I think you do see a brief shot of Frodo in the background sneaking up in the house before he passes out, which Elijah would. I'm just going to call him Frodo this movie.
That's fine. That's it. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, this is fine. Again, this is all stage setting for the basically his entire motivation for this entire film. No other motivation needed. That's it. Revenge.
Goldie. I gotta find who killed Goldie.
Gotta find the guy who killed Goldie. That's it. The only girl who's ever been nice to him.
Take a shot every time he says Goldie.
Yeah, seriously. Do not do that.
You know what? It'd be a more comfortable way to finish this movie off than watching the rest of it. Just pass out midway through like, Probably be more enjoyable when you get to the later part, being drunk off your ass when you're watching that.
You guys didn't enjoy this? I actually had a decent time with it, to be honest. I don't think I loved it as much as I did back in 2005. As I like to say, growth happened. But, I really still enjoyed this for what it was. You just got to lean into it. I'm pretty
sure that the rate this is going to go is Mike was the lowest, I'm in the middle, and you were the highest. I'm pretty sure that's the way to put it.
I think that might be...
I think that's a super fair bet.
Yeah, I think that's.
I could have guessed that before we started the episode.
Yeah, that's bank loans. I think that's no risk there.
There were parts that I enjoyed, like everything with Marv, like when he's breaking out and he's fighting the cops and he's stealing a car. Like there was a cool scene where he jumps through a hood of the front window of the car feet first. Okay, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And the splashes of blood, the only red on the screen, and everything's black and white. I mean, there were cool moments where I'm like, I was getting into the movie, but it's just like when the violence gets violent, it gets so over the top. Even though it's black and white and it's not, and it's kind of cartoony in a sense, it just, there were a couple of things that really I was just like, nope, time to check out. Like you had, after you rate the hotel, you had what I wrote down as Sexy Claire, where I gotta say this movie loved half naked women put in here for some reason.
Yes, there's nothing but there's nothing but, which again, I'm not,
I'm not complaining. It just didn't feel. I mean, I know it's from the comic, like that with Claire standing there with a gun just in her underwear. That's straight from the comic, because I've been flipping through the comic while we're talking. Yeah. That's straight up panel for panel.
Yeah, and we just really quickly when Rourke Marv, thank you. When Marv ditches the car into the ocean or into the lake or whatever that is, he does his best Mario Brothers and kind of just swims infinitely underwater without needing to breathe
through a giant pipe even.
Yeah.
He does go. Yeah, you're right. He does go through a pipe too.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I noted that too. Like, man, he's been underwater for a long time.
It is rather silly, but again, this is the comic book part of this movie, and it's fine. You say, "Okay, movie, I will accept your silliness, because it's clearly going to be violent and silly and gritty and all the above." But yeah, so you meet Claire, and she's his parole officer, of course.
I like Claire.
She's good. She provides him his medicine, which I guess keeps him from being a homicidal maniac, because there's clearly meds you can take for that. Obviously, he has a nice little monologue about how these are the old days where just beating people in the face is what you do, because that's what you do in the bad old days.
Boy, does he have, like, we haven't mentioned it yet, but like there's more over narration and monologuing to the audience than there is spoken dialogue in this movie.
Oh yeah,
like, everything's narration. It's very.
I was wrong. Her name is Lucille.
Lucille, yeah, you're right. Lucille.
Sorry, Claire is someone else.
It's very 20s radio detective show. Like,
yeah, it's the vibe, and yeah, it's the vibe it's going for, right? And that's kind of what this is. It's like you said, it's a lot, mostly narration, not a ton of dialogue. When the dialogue is there, it's not terribly good, nor is the performances very good. I doubt whether or not the actors were in the same room. I don't know, because again, this is all done in post-production.
The more you told me, I don't even want to think the actors are in the same state for some of the stuff. Dan. Like it's just.
So, Bruce Willis, you're in your bathroom, right? Oh yeah, that's fine. Shoot in the bathroom. It's cool. Yeah, just take your phone and just do your bath. That's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'll just fix it in post. Yeah,
it's just some weird ass shit.
Yeah.
Everything with Marv is strange. You have the part with the Lucille, and you have like he murders people in an alley, which was kind of cool. And when you go, there's a saloon that keeps popping up throughout the movie, at least through Marv's part, and then continues on. And you see Jessica Alba's character, which she goes by the name. Do they call her by her character's name in this part, or just something else? I can't remember.
Yeah, they do. Nancy.
Okay, it didn't click to me that that's Nancy all grown up from the first scene. It did not click until way near the end of the movie.
Man, we'll get there. That's. Whew. We also see the Brittany Murphy.
Yep.
So sad.
Right.
I saw her and I was like,
oh yeah.
I saw her and I was like, "Aw."
Yeah, you kind of have that moment. Yeah.
I forgot about her, and then I remembered. Oh yeah, not an actress I think about very often.
Well, she was a pretty big star at that point too. Like she was in 8 Mile, which I think one of her bigger roles. She had did a bunch of work.
Yeah,
so,
she's in Happy Feet apparently.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Does that count? I've seen that movie she was in.
Yeah, she passed away. I don't remember from what, but
Ammonia.
Oh, pneumonia.
Oh, wow.
Oh God. Okay.
At age of 32. So my age right now.
Brutal.
That's sad. She was in a lot of movies too. 'Cause I'm looking at all her movies, and it was a lot before she passed away.
Yeah, she did a lot of work. Again, everyone in this movie most everyone is a pretty big star at this point. And we also meet Clive Owen, who plays Dwight. We have no context on who this person is. Brittany Murphy gives him a coy smile as she hands him a whiskey, and he delivers one of my favorite lines in this movie, where he explains how Marv is. Like clearly he knows who Marv is, and he explains to the audience in narration, as Michael clearly has said, kind of explains how Marv was born in the wrong century. Like he really should have been born with the Vikings or with like the gladiators, and that explains a lot. Like someone who's almost addicted to the violence and addicted to the brutality and the energy of that, right? Of like that kind of adrenaline rush of just being brutal. So yeah, there was an interesting little moment. I like that quite a bit. Then we get our Nancy reveal, which is,
It meant nothing. It went right over my head.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I had no idea who I'm like, oh, Jessica Alba. Oh yeah, she's in this movie.
Yeah.
That's as far as it went.
She was a big deal in this time too. Jessica Alba was a huge
She was
star.
in that Fantastic Four movie.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of stuff.
She had Dark Angel at one point. I like Jessica Alba.
A Fantastic Four movie will be on the show at some point.
Sure it will be.
All three of us, I don't know, but it will be on the movie at some point.
Sure it will. But yeah, so they kind of, again, her intro, which is one of those like, like embarrassed with my wife's around, like, oh, seriously, no, this is for the podcast. This is for the show.
Nobody's watching this by choice.
This is old me. This was watched on my computer, by the way. This was this was not for public consumption. I asked my wife, I'm like, so Jim, I'm going to watch Sin City. Do you want to watch it with me? She goes, I've never seen it. I'm like, it's got a lot of violence and nudity and in black and white. It's a comic movie. She goes, have fun with that.
My wife had to work today. She's like, oh, I already want to be home. I'm like, well, if you were home, then you'd have to watch this movie with me. She's like, yeah, that's true.
That's fair.
I think she would rather pick work than watch this movie.
I'd love to hang out with you, Mike, but you gotta watch that crap. I'm saying I'll work.
Yeah. So once we get our introduction to Mr. Owen and Miss Alba. Oh,
I
go ahead.
Say, Tiff actually was watching this movie with me, and she was like, during the Marv stuff, she's like, what the hell is wrong with it? Because he just wouldn't die. But she was getting into the movie.
He's Max Payne.
That too. But then when I told her about like the way the movie goes with Bruce Willis, she's like, no, I'm good. I don't need to see any of that. I'm like, you're right. You don't need to see any of that.
No. Because there are some triggery things in here, for sure. So, but thank you for that trigger warning.
I forgot, but
we'll move right along because this is a silly scene. This is more of just this is really more just violence for the sake of violence. Marv is led out by a couple of hitmen who are easily dispatched, and again, brutal, violent fashion, shot and all the rest of it. He takes their coat, which is a very funny, recurring kind of theme. That's a mighty fine coat.
I did like that.
That's a fine coat you have. We have our second crotch shot of the production. We're 20 minutes in, 2 crotch shots. That's fine. Of course, he gives him the next clue to lead him to the big bad, which is Rourke, blows him away, and then we see Goldie.
Oh, I do have one question for you. When does this take place? Does this take place after the rest of the stories have ended?
No, it can't, because this has to take place before, because Nancy is still at the bar.
When Bruce Willis's character walks in and sees Nancy in the bar at the end, you can see Marv at the bar. So this at least takes place after that.
Okay.
Right. And I guess it could have made sense that she would just go back to her job, right? It's not like she's not going to work anymore. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't really, it's not clear. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, that's what I was just thinking of during
this. That's a question. Yeah, we see Goldie. She's there with the gun. I'll get you for this. So
is this where she's hitting him with the car?
Yeah.
No, is it?
Yeah, it's right around here. If I think it's right. It's near here where they go out. He goes outside and she's shooting at him.
I do think we see her before she starts running down.
Hang on 1 second. Oh yeah, no. This is after this is when we have our montage of him just beating people up in violent, brutal ways. We have the shot of him shoving someone's face into a toilet, which also and beating him with the lid. Oh no, that was actually later. See that funny? I just said the sentence. He pushes somebody's face into a toilet, beats him with the lid. Oh no, that happens later, which implies there's two parts in this film. Someone's face is pushed into a toilet and gets beaten. Yay! So toilet guy, we get our face scrape with the car, which made me laugh hard. Oh, face scrape's great. Good. Yeah, it's good. He goes, I don't know about you, but I'm having a ball. It's great.
So where Marv is driving down the road, holding this guy's face to the road as he drives.
So gross.
But it's played for laughs.
It is played for laughs. And that's kind of why you have to kind of lean into it and realize how comic booky and silly this is really.
Compared to what's coming shortly after this, it has to be played for laughs.
Yeah, good point. So we get to the church with the priest. We have this. There's a little bit of religious subtext in here, like the evil of religion. Okay, kind of very ham-handed.
I like that stuff, but not. Okay. It didn't really fit.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, it's fine. It seemed kind of ham-handed that the big bad, of course, is the priest, and the priest has his hands and everything. But everything points to Rourke, blows away the priest, and again in very stylish fashion.
According to IMDb, the priest is Frank Miller.
Oh, really? Well then, okay. I did not know that.
We learned something new.
Me neither, but that's what IMDb says, so it must be true.
And then we get probably one of my favorite lines in the movie as he's leaving the church. Marv says that modern cars all look like electric shavers. I love that because he's so right. Ever since I've seen that movie for the last 15 years later now, every time I think of, I just kind of driving along and I'll see a car and like, looks like an electric shaver. Marv is right. It does look like an electric, and I will think that I've probably thought 300 times since seeing this movie. Every once in a while, I look at a car and say, you know what? It does look like an electric shaver. Huh, he's got a point.
It's just further proof that he's born in the wrong century.
Born in the wrong century. And this is when we get to the point where Goldie, fake Goldie as we come to learn, runs him over with a car, hits him 3 times. No biggie. And just gets back into his vehicle and drives off.
I have it in my notes as Marv is stuck in a boss fight. It's one of those cheap-ass boss fights that just where the enemy keeps hitting you and as soon as you get up, they knock you down again.
That's very good.
And then I don't remember why, but something happens and he heads to the farm. Like, I think the priest tells him to go to the farm or something.
The priest finally spills the beans that it's the Rourke kid. Go to the farm. You'll see everything you need to know. That shocks him. I like as he's driving there, he's trying to take his pills, but all the medicine keeps falling out of his mouth. It's falling all over the place.
He goes to wipe his mouth and just dumps them.
He just dumps them. Yeah. It's like, oops, that's not good. That's the sign of bad things to happen.
God, and this is probably one of the goriest and sickest things that I've watched in a movie in a long time. That just this whole farm part, I don't like it at all. And you're not supposed to.
Oh, I mean, I don't know.
You like horror movies?
Oh yeah, this is a Bill thing.
No, I don't like horror movies. I don't like gore, and I know it's fake and all. I just don't like it. It doesn't do it for me. And he gets hit in the... I forgot, but he ends up fighting Elijah Wood's character, which is like he's Elijah Wood. He's a little guy that moves all fast and has nails that are razor blades or something like weird like that.
No Charlie Brown shirt.
And a Charlie Brown shirt. And cons, which is the second character in this movie who wear super rad cons.
And he's got the anime glasses where typically you just see white circles in front of his eyes instead of his actual eyes.
Very good. Yeah, he snakes up. Smashes it in the face with a sledgehammer because he's got blood in his eyes. And I think this is what you're talking about when he ends up in the cell.
Yes, this part got me. Like, I had no memory. I did not remember it, but like, it doesn't take long before he wakes up in the cell and Lucille's there and she's like, he eats them. He made me watch. And I'm like, what the fuck? And she ends up showing, you see all these heads on the wall. Yeah, just people's heads on the wall, women's heads. And then you find out she's missing and she shows you she's missing her hand.
Yeah.
And he ate her hand and she had to watch him eat it. Like, it is just a gross, like everything. It's a little disturbing.
A little bit.
It's rather disturbing. This is just, you can say rather.
It gets worse.
I forgot about the hand eating when I was watching it. And I'd forgotten about it. And then when they revealed that, I was like, oh, wow, that's just, not pleasant at all. I did not giggle at that. So please, all right.
It's meant to be very disturbing. Like even when all the cops show up, and then I like it where Lucille's like, I'm Mr. Off, and they just shoot her in the head anyway. Like, just when you find out all the cops are evil too, and they're working for the senator who's corrupted. It's just everything about this part was just so depressing. Like, I just want to turn off the movie and be done. I did not. But.
This is it's tough. This is again, you're about half an hour in now, and this is not pleasant at all. The thing with this is also, this is the first time where you kind of see how this movie really treats women. And it's easy to say it's exploitive because it is. It's like an exploitation movie almost. But when we get to Old Town, we'll talk about that. But this is how it kind of refers to. He refers to them as dames a lot, which again, that 1920s, 1930s, meow, say meow, I'm dame, say meow, like a lot of that kind of style. And also, he has a line here where he says, sometimes dames just need to scream it out, and I'm like, no, it's not how mental health works. But again, in the world,
he's got to build something. As we learned in Iron Man 3.
Yes. It's got to build something. You're fine. Just get some Legos. You're good. So, I mean, so we're kind of starting to see some of the backwards way that this movie does treat women. Again, what's okay in 2005 is probably not okay now. It's just the way life works, the way history works and society and all that. But again, taken in the context of the film, I can't get mad at it. I can't get all social justice warrior on it because it's what it is. This is the world you're living in right now where this is kind of how it is. But I think it's interesting to think about, this was actually no one minded, right? No one really brought this up. Critically, this was acclaimed. Critics love this. This holds a 70-something% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is about right. But when I remember when it first came out, it was critically lauded. Like, this is a visual spectacle. It's a visual breakthrough. This is wonderful, right? It's a great adaptation. And no one really mentioned this part of it, like the hyper-violence, how it desensitizes, all that sort of thing. So we live in different times for sure. But yeah, he breaks out after some exposition that we already knew that no one cares about. Again, when this movie starts really just sitting and talking, feel free to tune out because there's nothing interesting really happening. We already know what's going to happen. And then, like you said, Mike, police come, they blow away Lucille. Marv goes through with a hatchet, does some business. I think it was at that point, right?
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Yeah, he kills everybody.
They're like, there's no sign of the suspect. He's like, here's your sign. He swings to the axe and hits a dude in the crotch. Like, what is it with this movie and balls?
Yeah. we're here at number 3.
It's just unnecessary, and it's just, I don't know, like, it's irritating me. It just, I don't know, it's just the violence of this part with everything, like, just really kind of made me not get into this movie at all.
Totally.
I mean, when it comes to all the different parts, this area is one of my least favorites. So
yeah, I have some that I thought were worse later on. Of course, the biggie, which of course we'll get to.
Oh yeah, there's. I did like it when he gets caught by the hookers and he's tied up in Old Town where all the hookers live. That was amusing me. And they're beating him with the gun, and when he finds out this is Goldie's sister, and this is why she looks just like Goldie's his twin sister. And when he gets done, they're like, okay, let's go kill Rourke, and the ropes that were supposedly tying him, he just drops them off like they were nothing and just leaves. That did amuse me. It made me laugh a little.
Yeah, he just wanted to take the chance to talk some sense into him, he says.
Right. He figured, he figures it's a weird line and balance between you're not really a threat, so I'm not concerned, and the other side of the line, which is what the movie's trying to do, is say, oh, he's not going to hurt a woman, right? Even though he does, 15 minutes later.
He even says that. He's like, I don't hurt women.
Yeah, I don't hurt dames, or something like that. And just kind of showing that, hey, he's clearly not the person who did this, even though they thought he did, and he's willing to help avenge her timely demise. We see Rosario Dawson, who was a pretty big star at the time, as the lead lady of the night.
I did like that. But I also have a thing for, like, anytime women are dressed up in, like, dominatrix outfits, I have a thing for that. Like, one of the comics that I bought, the first Invaders issue I bought, which is a World War II comic with Captain America, Namor, and the Human Torch, but not Johnny Storm, not that Human Torch. The first issue I bought of that made me interested and want to read that book was there was a villain for some reason in the 1970s that's a dominatrix villain who works for Hitler and has swastikas on her, and I bought that comic book.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, confessing a lot here on the show, are we? All right.
Well, one, I'm obsessed with World War II, and I just love everything about that, and I own the entire run of that. I never read it, but I have the entire run just because of that comic.
This is the second time Rosario Dawson's shown up on this show, Mike.
What was the first time?
It was in Percy Jackson, where she was Persephone.
Okay, you know what? I like this version better. But yeah, that's how so it got my attention then. I was like, okay, now I'm interested in a little bit more of this movie.
So I texted Mike that she kind of gave me an 80s Storm with the Mohawk vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you guys think of Old Town as a setting, as an idea?
Cool.
So-
I'm not the person to be asking right now. Mike, you talk. I'm going to shut up.
Oh, I got nothing.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's very interesting because that's where, again, this movie's towing the line between female empowerment and exploitation. Because, again, it is played for, titillation for the most part, right? Scantily clad women or, prancing around and the whole prostitution thing. But it also can make a case for empowerment, how they own this, right? They own Old Town. They're no longer slaves or subject to, I shouldn't say slaves, geez. They're no longer subjects or subservient. That's the better term. They're no longer subservient to the mob or to the pimps. They've cleaned it out, and now they have their own community, really, of, let's be honest, of sex workers. And depending on how you feel about that sort of thing is totally up to your prerogative. But and there's an empowerment to that. Like, we take care of ourselves. We don't need anybody else to take care of it. And we have this kind of deal struck with the cops where, hey, they don't come over here to bother us. We don't bother them. We give them some freebies. And that's kind of this shaky truce that we have. I really, really like that. I think there is something somewhat empowering about women, not only, again, like owning this, again, regardless of what you think about the actual work that they're doing, them kind of owning this piece of this very violent and brutal world, I think is rather cool. So I like all this Old Town stuff actually quite a bit.
I did too. I really did. But then again, like I said before, I was much more interested in the movie when Rosario Dawson showed up. And I like the part where he asked for handcuffs. She's like, "What kind?" I'm like, just give him what you have. Like, I was like, okay,
yeah, funny, right?
Got me for a little bit here. I'm interested.
That was funny. It was cool. I have a collection. I was like, all right, there you go. Let's have
This is where we meet Alexis Bledell's character too.
Oh God, like, this movie's mostly black and white with something colored. And for those that don't know who that is, it's the girl from Gilmore Girls, the younger one. And her blue eyes just pop out so much. And every time she's on the screen, I'm just like, I can just stare at her eyes this whole time. I'm okay. Like, I just like her a lot. I also really like the movie Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants when she's in.
Oh, yeah.
Very odd choice to see her in, given the other stuff that she's done. Yeah, oh yeah.
Hey, she's in Handmaid's Tale too.
Is she really?
Don't ever watch that, Mike. Don't go near it.
Oh, Handmaidens. I hear it's pretty brutal. Yeah, I want to see it.
You should watch it. Just Mike should not.
If I want to, yeah. I've been wanting to see that.
It's a really good show, and it's a very well done show, but there are too many similarities to our current world that get a little creepy to watch. And like I'm going to go off top for a second, but it really shows you what would happen if you let certain religion ideas run the world in today's world, where women are pretty much almost like slaves and stuff. Like, women can't read. It's against the law for them to read. And if you break a law, they don't throw you in prison. They start cutting things off, depending on what you did.
Yes, Jesus.
It's like, let's say here you had marriage, or let's say here you had sex out of wedlock with someone and you're married. They're not just going to arrest you or, divorce you or shoot you. No, they're going to drown you instead as your punishment. It is a very brutal show, but it's very good. I can't do it.
No.
But it's very good. I mean, the actress and she's in that show. She plays one of the handmaids, and she plays a very adult character, and she does a very good job acting.
All right.
So you check it out.
Well, yeah, I will. I've been wanting to see that, so I think I definitely want to check that out. So after this part, so we make our way to the farm. Back to the farm. Wendy goes with Rourke. They have some conversations, repeating things we already know. Goldie was the only one who was kind to me. That's it. Every once in a while he slips and calls her Goldie, which is pretty interesting because it kind of shows that he's starting to get a little confused. He spilt all his medicine on the floor, and with his big mitts, he can't pick it up. So it's just
really
leave it there, I guess.
A little bit here.
Yeah. So we get to the farm. He actually picks up some supplies from the local hardware store for as the shopkeep said, the old, how would he say? For the old home security, his razor wire and his tubing and his everything else.
God.
And then we get back to the farm, Mike's favorite location.
This is when I want to turn the movie off.
Yeah, this is the roughest part. He sets up a trap for Elijah Wood. Is Elijah Wood? Yes. He sets up a trap for Elijah Wood, throws a gas canister into the house, kablooms the house. He leaps out, dodges all the traps. They have some close quarters. Marv applies the handcuff to his wrist, and that prevents him from jumping around. And then one good shot across the jaw, the very fake blood plop across the screen. And we get to the scene where he uses that rubber tubing. And we see the demise of Kevin, which I just remembered the character's name was Kevin.
This is one of the and you don't see what he just talked about. He didn't even make a single noise when I cut off his limbs. And I'm like, what? And then as the camera pans out, you just see Elijah Wood sitting there with no arms and no legs, just smiling.
Yep.
And then there's a dog you see earlier, and then the dog comes over, and I'm just like, turn off this movie now.
Yeah, and you only see the really brutal stuff. The most brutal thing is, of course, the dog pulling at the meat of his leg. But you see that all in stark silhouette, in like white on black silhouette. So it's not, obviously it's not as gruesome as you would think. It kind of toes the line. I've seen worse. I saw worse this year. Nothing.
Because you look for it.
I do not. No. I do not look for it. I'm not going on grossface.com and saying, ooh, what's the most disgusting thing?
But when I see a horror movie, I go, next.
Well, let's just say I saw The Lighthouse earlier this year, and the ending of The Lighthouse is worse than that. So,
all right, check to never watch that movie. Thank you.
It's amazing. It's a beautifully made movie. It's one of the best movies I've seen in quite some time.
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, I might like it a little more than Parasite, but anyway. Oh yeah, so Michael, where were you on this scene?
It didn't bother me. Like it looks so fake that it didn't faze me. There's worth stuff in this movie.
There is, and you're right. It does look very fake. It's not meant to be silly. It's meant to be gross and harrowing. It doesn't quite pull that off. It's fake. It's obviously not. Yeah.
They really only show it for a few seconds before it cuts back to the close up of Frodo's face. Right. Which is pretty chilling. Which is that's him just like staring off into the distance while what's left of his limbs are being devoured by an animal. By his own dog.
Yeah, by his own dog. Oof. Not fun. That piece is very chilling.
This is the part that I was wondering, like when because after he does this, he kills him. He goes back to Jessica Alba's apartment, and I was wondering now once I figure out who Nancy was, if this was taking place after the Yellow Bastard event part ends and she's back working again. That's kind of how I took it. Now that I've seen the whole movie.
This 2-second scene that just starts and stops.
Yeah, it doesn't do much, and he gets arrested. He gets shot up and arrested, and the police beat him, and you have all that happens. It's weird. It sounds like he was in prison for a while, I think, before they ended up taking him to the electric chair and just murder him.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Because after this very brief scene, he goes after Rourke, the priest.
Oh,
Rourke.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, he goes after priest Rourke, and he has a little assault on the. We see him snap some necks, and very quick. Like, there's no big deal getting into the bedroom of Pope Rourke and hands over Kevin's head. Mr. Rourke is
that bothered me more. The 2 decapitations in this movie is like it still looks super fake, but it's still gross.
Yeah, it's clearly a prop head. Again, you have your little religious dig where he plops in on the Bible, on an open Bible. Like, okay.
I missed that.
Oh yeah, he plops it right down on his open Bible. It's like, okay, well, fine. We get it. But symbolism. Okay. Great, Robert. Yeah, so we learned that Kevin, he was aware of Kevin's eating situation. He joined in the eating because he filled it with white lights. And
there was only prostitutes that they ate.
Right. They weren't people. They weren't actually people with, hearts and, thoughts and feelings.
I mean, it's kind of
emotions.
It's a look on how especially some people in religion, that are very religious upbringing will view sex workers. They'll view them that kind of way. I mean, not that they should be eaten, but just like that they're criminals or in a different way. Right. I feel like you can. So I guess, they were going for the very extreme version of it, but that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably what the symbolism is for.
Yeah, but again, it's ham-handed. In the end, it's all source material. So I want to say Mr. Rodriguez, but it's really Mr. Miller. That's
Mr. Miller's crazy.
He is a crazy man. I'm sure he sounds like a crazy man, but that's fine. He's allowed.
Oh, and apparently Jessica Alba takes Goldie to the airport. I don't remember that's in the film, but it's in the comic that I'm looking at right now while we're talking.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I guess that might be part of the story. That might be part of the comic that I just didn't. Maybe there's also a bunch of deleted scenes. A lot of violence was deleted from this movie.
Wow.
There was some violence removed. So I don't know if it's on the deleted scenes. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I wanted to before this recording, but got busy.
So you didn't miss anything, I'm sure.
Did we mention that Kevin was the one that killed Goldie?
I don't know.
No, I don't think we mentioned it, but it's kind of like understood. Like he's the only person that could have possibly done it. I don't even know if it's explicitly said.
It's said in there.
It is. It's like you said that when Kevin sneaks up on Marv before, he's like, well, no one sneaks up on me except for the bastard who killed Goldie, which means that this guy did it. And then Wendy wants to kill Kevin herself, and that's when Marv hits a woman.
Right,
he said he wouldn't do.
Oh.
Right. That's right. Yeah, because she wanted to finish him off, and he's like, nope, I'm not going to let you get the satisfaction of killing this person humanely. I'm going to brutalize him in the most vicious way possible. Yeah,
okay.
Come on, Marv.
I mean, everything Marv does is brutal. Like when he gets to the Pope and he kills. Was the Pope the senator, or was that the grandfather?
The Pope is okay. Yeah, the senator I think is the son of the Pope, and then Yellowface is the son of the senator.
Okay.
Yes. That's right. Or was his brother? It might be a brother. He's either brother or dad or who knows. It just the Pope seems pretty old, so I don't know if he's.
That's why I was wondering.
It doesn't matter. He's evidently Marv crushes his face, and a lot of the violence that happens off screen in this movie is a little more jarring than the stuff that's on screen. This one really got me. Like you don't see what's happening; you just hear crunching and straining, and then you see the blood splatter on Marv as he's doing whatever he's doing. I don't want to know what he's doing. I really don't. I don't want to see that. Don't need that.
I assume he was like crushing his head with his hands.
I'm assuming with his mitts. That's the last time I'll say that. Which makes me laugh. He refers to his fists as mitts. But then
he calls them mitts in the movie. So
he did.
There is that.
He did. Then the cops appear. They see him doing what he's doing. They shoot him 20 times. And ends him up in the hospital. And this is kind of this mirrors Hartigan later on in the film, kind of what he does in the hospital. He gets framed on his last night before his execution. Wendy appears, says it's okay to call her Goldie, which I think is actually strangely sweet. You know, she understand. I think that's
a weird scene.
That's her understanding that he's this is his last night on Earth, so. You know what? Call me Goldie. If he'll give you a little solace, he'll give you a little peace, a little comfort before your electrocution, then fine. Let's go for it. So all that's kind of all of that was kind of sad. A little sad. It was interesting to me. I was watching it and I'm like, oh, this is a downer, because I know what's gonna happen, right? But I was thinking, like, should I be all that sad? Because Marv doesn't need to be. Like he's gotta go. He's a problem. Like this man's a time bomb waiting to go off. Like if he survived his whole escapade with Rourke, his medication would run out because Lucille's gone. His contact is gone. So do you know what? This might be for the best society. Can we all agree? But yeah, and then they zap him. They have to zap him twice because, again, very gross. He's like spitting up blood and he's going, "Is that all you got, you pansies?"
Yeah, it was like I was like, I'm ready to be. I was like, oh, am I nearing the end of this movie? And I'm like, nope, I'm only an hour in.
I had a good laugh at that. That's funny. It's funny. That's a funny line. You're loud.
No.
What did you think about all this this whole jail sequence there, Michael?
I thought it was kind of weird they just like let Wendy lay down with them, like she spent the night with them in the jail cell.
That's a very good point.
Seemed odd.
In the comic.
Yeah, but I mean, in the world of the film, would they just let him have just his last night with somebody? Maybe. Nobody seems very sympathetic to anybody in this film, in this world of Sin City, right? That's a good question.
Also, if they were going to electrocute him anyway, why let him sit in a hospital bed for 18 months to heal and then immediately beat him to death anyway? Or near death?
Because it's a crazy-ass town.
It's a crazy-ass town.
It just seemed odd.
I mean, that's how I took it. Because, I mean, this whole town, like, everyone's corrupted. Everything is, there's something wrong going on.
So, hold on. Now that I'm piecing this together. Police break into the Pope's house. They shoot this guy that's killed the Pope 100 times. And then they take him to a hospital? Like, weren't they trying to kill him when they shot him?
Well, I think, weren't they police? Because I think what they wanted to do is they wanted to frame him. They want to do like the frame up. And that's a lot of this movie too, with Hannigan as well, or Harrigan. I keep saying it wrong. With Bruce Willis as well. Is they don't just want to kill somebody. They want to embarrass them, humiliate them, and emasculate them. And that's again, that's I think a big theme of this is that emasculization. I shouldn't say that word if it's not real. that kind of, with the crotch shots and the
I mean, it has to be
humiliation.
I can see that being a thing in this movie. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, because everybody in this movie are evil people, right? There's no real reason for everyone to be this evil. They just are. So they're all, these archetypes or these, very one-noted villainous characters, just evil for the sake of it. Like, this movie, there's no exploration of its evil and of its violence. It's just celebrating it and hand-waving it. And I think that's one of the bigger problems with this is that no one takes any responsibility for this, right? Like, if you're going to be gross and violent, again, The Lighthouse, it is horribly violent. The ending scene of that movie is one of the most gruesome things I've seen on film in years, but it's also well earned. It's deserved. It works for it. It's beautifully shot. Gloriously shot. It's artfully done. It's violent. It's not good. After the show, I'll tell you if you guys are never going to see it. But it's no, I'm not going to say it now because I don't want
the show. You can tell us.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it here because you should go see this movie. Go see The Lighthouse.
I mean, not talking to us.
Yeah, clearly not. They've earned that. They earned that ending of that movie. In Sin City, Rodriguez would probably say, well, that's just what's in the comic book. And then Frank Miller would just say, well, that's what's in my brain. And no one's taking the time to really examine it and really see if they should.
Examine his brain? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no one's thinking about it. It's just this kind of celebration and glorification without any thought to what they're actually celebrating and glorifying. So as a piece of pulp media, I think it's fine, right? But you can't take it more than that, which is why some of the stuff in this movie does come off unearned and just there to shock you and shock value. And definitely the Elijah Wood scene with his limbs, that's shock value. There's no reason for it. It is no reason other than to do something gross on screen / on the page, which doesn't make me and again, I have no problem with that sometimes. I just ran out of steam there. But anyway, it doesn't examine anything. It's just putting it on screen for you to deal with or not deal with. Sometimes it's fun and sometimes it is not. And we're going to get to some stuff that's not fun. But Marv getting electrocuted and going, why don't you do that again, you pansies, is very fun and very funny.
I actually really liked the next story in this movie. That was probably my favorite part of this movie. Mm-hmm. The big fat kill this is where you have Clive Owen, who is apparently like a guy who thinks he's in Mission Impossible and has changed his face or something, or changed his, he's a different, like, people, he looks different or something. They keep making comments about it.
Yeah, that doesn't really come up, does it?
They never say why, but they do say he looks different and stuff.
It says, I think they mentioned he mentions he's a murderer and he had to he changed his face. Because as he's escaping the scene that we're going to get to right now, the cop pulls up behind him and he says, I'm one fingerprint away from going back to jail.
Oh, right? Yeah. Okay. I like Clive Owen in this movie. Like, I didn't like this movie, but I enjoyed his part and I enjoyed the story more than anything. Like, it opens up, you're in Brittany Murphy's apartment, where she's one of the waitresses from the saloon, but now she's in an apartment and he's over there. And then this asshole guy who's played by Benicio del Toro.
Yes.
Which this guy can act, because I've seen him in other movies. Like, more recently, he's in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's in The Last Jedi, and he plays a completely different character in all three of those movies. Like, completely different. I'm like, this guy can do pretty good.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro is a phenomenal actor. He's done so much good work over the year.
He's the collector. Huh.
Yeah, yes. He's a collector.
I thought the name seemed familiar.
Yeah, he does a good job. Like, I don't like his character in this movie, but you're not supposed to, because he's a woman beater and an asshole, and he's just bad, but he does a good job of acting. His
delivery is so interesting and different. His delivery is something out of a comic book. Like, you would think that's kind of how it's got such an interesting his delivery in this movie.
When they handed him the script, they just handed him the Sin City comic book and said, "Read this. Here you go."
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's pretty much probably what they did. Yeah, Benicio del Toro also I don't know how well known, was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, plays Dr. Gonzo, and he is glorious in that movie. And I adore that movie. I don't care what anyone says. I'm a big Fear and Loathing fan.
Never seen it yet.
Go see it. You should see it. Everyone should see it.
I feel like it's the kind of movie that I need to be smoking something I don't smoke while I go watch it. But
no, I don't. You know why? Because someone actually asked me about this a couple years ago. Like, they're like, "Why do you like that movie so much?" And I won't get into it. This podcast is already at an hour plus. But it has its own stimulants in it. Like, you don't need to be augmented You know, you don't need to be high or anything like that to see it because Terry Gilliam, the director, has that all baked in. Like it's just so visually exciting and brain alteringly weird. Like your brain's trying to make sense of this movie, but it can't because there's so many weird things happening that don't make sense. It kind of alters your state for you. So, but it's also a wonderful, wonderful mediation on the American dream. On I can go on and on. I will not.
Okay.
We're already running long. So,
but like when the asshole comes, Benicio del Toro, and he brings in his gang of idiots, and like you have him threatening Brittany Murphy. He's like, "Oh, there better not be another man here." And I don't remember, he slaps him. She says, "It's my boyfriend in the other room" or something. And when the guy goes to the bathroom and he's talking all stupid and he's taking a piss, like this part was just unnecessary. I mean, straight from the comics though, where Clive Owen's character is hiding in the shower, comes out, puts a razor blade to his neck, and then shoves his face in the toilet, in the piss toilet, for a while. And I thought for sure he was going to drown him.
He does have a good line here where Jackie Boy's like, "You're making a big mistake," and Clive Owen's like, "You just made a big mistake too. You didn't flush." And shoves his face in the toilet, which is absolutely disgusting, but that's a great line.
It's a very good line. I feel like this scene goes on way too long when they're in the apartment. His troops go in there and they're kind of leering at Brittany Murphy, and it just goes on. Like this one just wow.
Is a long part, like the whole him chasing after them because after that they leave and him chasing after them, and then they end up in Old Town trying to get with the Gilmore Girl. Like it just goes on too long. But I mean, again, anytime she was on the screen, I was happy. So I was like, okay, just because her eyes in this movie. I said it before, but damn, they did a good job with her blue eyes. Yeah, I really like her.
Yeah. We kind of get our exposition on Old Town. That's when you learn that there's kind of that truce in place. We learned that Dwight is well known here. Dwight used to have a thing with Rosario Dawson, which is kind of weird and doesn't really. They just kind of say it and then you understand it and then they kiss at one point, and that's how you're supposed to know that they have a romance because there's nothing else.
Yeah,
we're not taking the time to do this character building stuff. Let's just get to the head chopping and all that fun stuff. You came into.
I was completely on board in this part, though.
Yes, me too.
Like I like Rosario Dawson in general, but in this movie, completely on board with all the women from the hooker town. Like I was entertained from this part. Like this had, and then there's a part that I didn't catch it where when he's heading after Benicio del Toro's character, he makes a comment, or Brittany Murphy says something where you can't hear it, and you don't find out later. He said that he's a cop. Well,
before we get to all that,
yes,
because I really do want to spend a little bit of time on Mio and this is an example of kind of what violence in this movie when it's done well, when it's done properly. Because this is pure Wile E. Coyote, cartoon, goofy, silly, wackadoo violence. Like this is not meant to be gross. Yeah, this is not meant to be gross. This is not meant to be shocking. This is just meant to be a lot of fun because violence can be a lot of fun in the right context. I think the pacing of this is great. His slow car and, like you said, Gilmore Girl, basically telling him, look, just get out of here. You're about to make a big mistake, and kind of setting the trap. The pacing is good. And then the payoff is great. I put in my notes here, I actually stopped the movie to write all these beats down because I just felt like I had to. Jackie pulls gun and hilarity ensues. So his friends get slashed through the head and eye through the car. Jackie gets his hand cut off with a fountain of white blood going from it. He crawls to his gun and gnaws his fingers off of the trigger of his own gun. He gets a throwing star that's a swastika in his backside.
I was on board with this.
He gets his pin thrown into the barrel. The barrel backfires, and then Miho turns his neck into what Clive Owen calls a Pez dispenser. Uh-huh. This is so funny and silly and cartoony, and I adore this. I thought it was so great. Michael, did you share in my joy of this?
No.
I did. I enjoyed this though. I don't like, horror for no reason, but I enjoyed it.
It's definitely just more over the top violence.
Yeah.
But it didn't read to you as kind of funny and silly and no.
Yeah, not really.
All right. Maybe I'm strange. I don't know. But
you're just into that.
I do recognize Miho though. God, I'm not even trying to pronounce her actress's name, but she was Kasumi in the Dead or Alive movie.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh.
beat me to it, damn it. I'm watching the trailer right now for Dead or Alive.
That movie I have seen, and I kind of remember liking it. I know it's one of the lowest rated video game movies, but
it's going to be on this show because I think it has Lois Lane from Smallville on that too. As I can't remember the other character, but
I don't think so.
I'm just watching the trailer and it looks like it.
But speaking of Smallville, what was her name? The girl that could teleport that Clark dated for a little bit.
Alicia is the character.
Alicia, yeah. Her actress Sarah Carter is in it, and man, I had the biggest crush on her back about the time that Smallville episode came out.
Well, I know we're watching later on the show.
That's probably why I saw that movie.
So yeah, after that point, we at this point we get all our fun violence out of the way. They find out he's a cop, like you said, Mike, and that's a problem because that means he's a hero cop, like he's a big deal cop that could put the entire truce at risk. So we get our next scene where we gotta go to the pits and get these and go to the tar pits to bury this car and these people, and that's it. And then we get a big kiss between
unnecessary.
Yeah, unnecessary. Yeah, his warrior woman, as he continues to keep calling her. Again, kind of this big masculinity kind of thing going on. It's fine. Give her a kiss and move on. Let's get to the pits. Let's get going.
Call her like a Valkyrie twice in 30 seconds.
Yes, he calls her a Valkyrie twice in 30 seconds. Yes.
This movie, why did you make us watch this?
I think it's interesting. And it's not comic book. It's not capes and speed and spandex and, and it's not character development. And it's not good writing. And it's not...
All those are true comments. Yes,
it's not those things. It's a really interesting adaptation of a pulp noir comic book.
I did laugh when
it's unique. It's unique
when they load because he keeps saying, "I need a hard top with a fast engine. I need a hard top." Like he just keeps saying it, and they get him a car, and he complains about the car, and they don't have room to fit all the bodies in the trunk, so they put Benicio del Toro's character, who has a freaking part of a gun sticking out of his forehead, and they put him in the passenger seat. I did laugh at that part.
Yeah, this entire scene, this is the scene when he's driving to the pit, and Jackie is now very strange. Jackie is now talking to Dwight, but Dwight, of course, is imagining this in his brain. But Jackie is talking to him. This entire scene was directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, okay.
He is labeled as a guest director. This is the one scene. Yeah, that's right. There's the feet. That's yeah. My wife told me about that. I'm like, I didn't know that until she's like, I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is actually excellent. And I'm like, damn, yeah, it was a good movie, but it was a lot of feet. Like, what's going on with this? And she's like, it's a Tarantino movie. He's into feet. Like, what? She's like, think about every Tarantino ever movie made. How many feet are there? I'm now all of a sudden all the feet.
I mean, look, the camera right on her toe.
I had no idea until my wife said, "No, he's into feet." That's his thing.
I think he's not the best person either, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I don't know about Mr. Tarantino. He makes good movies. But this scene is directed by Quentin. This is a pretty cool scene. I like how the colors are constantly changing. All these really cool splashes of blue and green and purple. I think it looks really cool. Kind of giving that surreal vibe of this is not really happening. This is all in his head. They get pulled over. So in order to hide the fact that Jackie has a gun barrel embedded into his brain, Dwight stomps on the brakes and smashes his head into the dashboard, further embedding said gun barrel into his brain. Yeah, it's fine. When we get to the pits, Dwight is almost about to get there, and then he gets blowed up. We get shot.
Yeah, because the car runs out of gas, so he starts to push it uphill. Right. And then gets shot in the back.
Everyone loves to get shot in this movie all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't think everyone loves to get shot. I think just getting shot.
People love to shoot other people.
Yes, there you go.
Enjoyed the whole scene, and then you find out like he was, turned on him, and someone told him to meet him there, and you have like these weird mercenaries that don't last very long because they get killed themselves. Like I was into all this though.
You missed the point when Rosario Dawson. We cut back to her real quick. When Michael Clark Duncan appears out of nowhere again, and he appears out of nowhere, and
GoldenEye,
the Green Mile.
He has a literal golden eye.
Yeah, that's I wrote my note.
Okay, yeah, GoldenEye. Okay, sorry, I thought you meant he's in GoldenEye, the movie.
No, he's not in that movie.
I didn't know that. So he's kind of doing the exposition we already know. They're going to come back, and the pimps and the mob and everyone's going to take over Old Town, and we've heard it. I don't know if this is revealed because actually before this, what's her the girl with the blue eyes, Becky, thank you. Becky before this was on the phone with her mom, quote unquote, and evidently she's on the phone with her mom, and evidently that was not her mom. She is a stool pigeon because she's afraid, but I don't think we learned that yet. I think that's
it's not until they capture Gale. We see her, tied up or whatever.
Yep. They also claim that Dwight's dead. But we go back to the pits, and that's where you have the mercenaries, the Irish mercenaries, who 3/4 of them have bad Irish accents. One guy's clearly Irish. The other one's, oh no, you certainly are not. But that's fine.
Talking about how great the Americans have it. Like, yeah, you would know you're from this country.
Yeah, commentary. Yeah, you would know. But this is the point where you have a little bit of a gunfight, which is fun.
Because they pull out the badge out of Dwight's pocket, and it looks like a badge. It's all broken up, and then you see the bullet sticking out. He's like, "Wait a second!" And then Dwight flips over, and that's a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, this whole gunfight's very cool. Some dipping and diving. Then a grenade gets thrown, and Clive gets sunk into the pits. Every lead character in this movie gets a chance to narrate his own death scene.
Oh my God, you're right.
They all do. He's just relax. Let it fill your lungs. Let it take you away. And then, of course, Miho pulls him out from the sludge. And what was it? And that's it, right?
I think so. Because no. He wakes up and the mercenaries are cutting the head off of Jackie Boy because they need proof that the cop got killed in Old Town by the hookers.
Right. So I'm trying to remember when he gets pulled out of the.
It's right after that because he sees that and then he sinks down in as they're walking away and they pull him out and then they go after the car.
Right, because they're in there trying to get Del Toro's head off or Jackie Boy's head off. I put a note here that those silhouette scenes are really gorgeous. Like all the silhouette scenes when it's just white on black, I think is really, really stunning visually and always in the right spot.
Talk about when he's sinking down in the tar.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then she comes down and grasps his hand. Again, all of that I think is very visually stunning. It's really
kind of funny talking about GoldenEye. It kind of looks like a James Bond opening credits thing.
It kind of does. Yeah, kind of does. So we basically now we have the fight for Jackie's head. This whole scene was. Yep. This whole scene is weird because they end up in the sewer, chasing the main Irish mercenary. Irish mercenary is setting up the remote grenades. Clearly, this is going to be a thing later on in the movie because the movie takes some time to say these grenades are self-remoted or are remote control grenades. Because he actually says in lines like, "Oh, I don't like." Yeah, I'm not gonna do an Irish accent. He basically says he doesn't like handguns or revolvers. He likes things that go boom, and he shows him all the things that go boom, and then the little stick that makes it go boom, and then he makes it go boom. Because obviously this has to be very well set up for later on, towards the finale of this piece of the film. But Miho comes in after Irishman has done his job. All right, you've done your job for the movie, sir. Now you can get dispatched by Miho.
That's all it was.
That's it. You've done your job.
He wasn't even a famous guy.
No, just an Irish guy. But so then we go back to Old Town, and that's...
This is when you see Gale or Rosario Dawson tied up in a chair getting beat up by GoldenEye, as I kept calling him when I was watching this.
So gross, yeah.
This is when you find out that Becky, the girl from Gilmore Girls, God, we love using other shows to define our characters.
Indeed.
It's a traitor. And again, like I said before, she shows up and just show me her eyes. Show me her eyes. That's all I wanted to see.
I mean, a lot of times we have to, especially with a movie like this where there's so many characters. Like you say Gale, I got to stop and think of which girl is Gale? Rosario Dawson. Okay.
Rosario Dawson.
But it's just so much easier to keep track of them when we reference something else.
It definitely is when it came to this movie. Wait till we watch Sucker Punch someday if we're ever that decide to want to torture ourselves.
Wait, did you say Sucker Punch?
Yes.
Not it. Unless you want me to, it's literally. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not awful.
Yes, it is.
I think I own it.
It's trash.
Actually, I think I've only watched it once.
It is trash.
Let me put it this way with Sucker Punch. I was writing reviews at the time, and I think my byline of the review, or one of the main lines was, Sucker Punch is as if you gave $38 million to a 13-year-old boy and told him to make a movie. I remember hating that movie so much that I actually I was living in New York at the time. I walked by subway stations with the poster on it, and I wanted to rip it off. I was so mad at that movie for wasting my time. Yeah, I despise.
We'll never probably do it, but
if you do, it'll be very entertaining to listen to me scream about it for an hour and 45. Again, anything for
movies.
Anything for the show. Anything for the show.
Next time I get a pick, I get my revenge. It sounds like.
All right.
We're definitely covering Dead or Alive at some point now because I've been watching the trailer. I need to see Kasumi. So.
Fair is fair.
But
go ahead.
This is when you get funniest part of this entire movie. And Mike, why don't you mention what it was?
This is the only part in the movie where I actually laughed, where the guy, one of the goons, is standing there watching Rosario Dawson get beat, and then all of a sudden he gets a harpoon through his chest. And he looks down at it and he goes, "Hey." It's just like talking about how everyone should be concerned if there's a harpoon in his chest. Doesn't seem to be in any kind of pain. It's just like, hey, we should get me to a doctor, I think, and everyone else has better things to do.
It's really funny. Yeah, it's definitely one of the highlights comedically of this movie. Just watching him kind of squirm, not squirm. Just watching him be just bemused by this harpoon in his chest. Hey guys, look see that? Wow,
they've gone full Looney Tunes at this point.
Oh yeah, and again, this is the movie telling you guys, relax. This is all fun. You can have fun with violence. It can be goofy and silly, and they're right. You can in context, because you can. Reanimator is horribly violent, but it's wonderful because it's fun, even when it's horrendously disgusting and gross and sexist and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean that was the one part where I laughed, and then this is when you have where they trade they end up meeting out in the alley and said, "Hey, we'll trade the head of Jackie Boy for Rosario Dawson." And I like this part because they have his mouth is all taped, and Gilmore Girl's like, "There's something wrong. His mouth is taped," because they're going to kill her too. She finds out, even though she helped them out. They're like, "Yeah, shoot her too. We don't need her." And I thought that was interesting how everything she did just wasn't going to work for her.
And the tape is kind of a cool fake out for the audience because, like as we mentioned, Jackie Boy's been talking to Dwight this whole time, even though he's long dead. So he's kind of assumed that he put the tape over his mouth to shut him up.
Yeah,
because he's insane.
Yeah, and then Becky points out there wasn't tape on his mouth before. Why is there tape now? And about there that time, Michael Clark Duncan figures it out when he pulls out the detonator.
Basically, this is a really good. Again, this is very cathartic. This is the point in the movie where it caught me, where I said, "Okay, am I now becoming desensitized, right, through the violence in this movie? And does papering this over with the veil of comic book, right, a comic book movie, this black and white, all the digitization, is it abstracting violence for me, where I can watch an alleyway of basically defenseless people. I mean, they have guns, but they're no match for 30 women with machine guns and rifles and everything else firing at them, and I'm not feeling anything. Like, I'm not feeling grossed out.
I'm smiling.
Right?
Women with guns and like dominatrix outfits and stuff. I'm just like, I'm actually enjoying this movie right now. And women in charge, I have a thing for that. If you haven't noticed it in this movie,
clearly, listen, you're a brave man.
Stuff I normally will mention, but like for some reason, like stuff like that, like women in charge like that, just like, especially in that type of situation, I'm just like, I'm 100% on. Well, yeah, I'm 100% on board. Like, it just there's a one time where I'm like, okay.
And that's why this kind of goes more, I would say, more to empowerment, right? They have taken control. They didn't need,
which I like.
Yeah, and I love that.
I really like that it didn't have, in this movie where it feels like you're in the 1920s and you had women not showing as just creatures or slaves, but actually in charge of something.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's absolutely.
That's
great.
Like,
and it was just interesting because I'm thinking, like, I'm just watching these people get mowed down. It's good. I'm like, yay, the bad guys are dying, and that's great. But is this saturation of violence over the last hour at this point? We're about the halfway point. Is this kind of desensitizing me? And I don't know. Again, I think it might just bore me because I've seen this 100 times. I've probably seen this film. I've seen this film probably 30 times. I own it. Jeez. And yeah, I have. I was really, really into this movie. I haven't seen this movie probably in at least 10 years. I'll be honest with you on that. But I definitely have seen it before that time. Yeah, probably easy 30. It's a visually stunning film, and near mid 20s. And what else you got to do? Watch Sin City 100 times in a row.
I went through my phase where I watched dumb shit. So
yeah,
talking about Dragon Ball Z.
being desensitized to the violence, I thought you were going to talk about Jockey Boy's head exploding, and like the eyeball flies at the camera.
Yes, I forgot
it's
about
like
that.
the cartooniest shit ever. Like it was so bad that one didn't even gross me out. It's just like, wow, that looked really stupid
and really fake. It was clearly, prop head, right? And again, a lot of these effects don't hold up very well, but taken in context and in the flow of a film, it works fine. Again, I don't think anyone's too concerned on the props department, which again was Robert Rodriguez's backyard, his shed.
I completely can believe that.
Go into the fridge and grab that watermelon. We're going to use that as a head to explode.
Yeah. You add that to the shopping list on 3 watermelons. I don't know. Maybe 3 takes. That's as many as I'm going to do. I got to pick up the kids at 3. So I think I can get 3 takes done.
I like the idea of this movie a lot more if all this stuff is just improvised as they go.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
We got to explode a head. What can we explode a head? Let's get a watermelon, dress it up like a head. That'll be fine.
Fine.
No one see that.
Cares. I'll fix it in post. That's it.
Fix it. The movie is made in post.
I'll fix it in post. Exactly. I make it in post.
I like special effects in movie, but this whole movie, like we've been saying, was made in post. It felt like.
Yeah, basically. So that's basically the end.
And that's the end of the movie. Goodbye. We'll see you guys. I'm kidding. I wish
No, we got a few more pages to go. No, this is at this point. This is the end of. Dwight's story. Yeah, which is the meat. Although it's not the most memorable. People remember the Mickey Rourke stuff much more than this.
It definitely felt like a longer section than this one.
Yeah,
it's good though.
It's great. I really think this whole thing, because again, it's actually feels like a movie. It sets up stakes. It's setting up a drama. There's tension. There's Mickey Rourke just running around bashing people's faces in. Not really do that. That section feels like a proper movie. That's a movie with a beginning, a middle, and the end, and a payoff, and everything kind of pays off to a certain extent. But and then the rest of this doesn't really feel like movie. This just feels like comic book stuff. So now we're going to finish off Hardigan's story. He is alive, bafflingly. Senator Rourke sees him in the hospital. We don't really know who he is. I only remember who he is because I've seen this 100 times. He's a touch miffed about his son messing up his son,
losing his balls.
Yeah, losing all the stuff. And all that stuff. Basically, the idea is to frame him. Yeah.
Powers Booth, he's not an actor that I don't know the guy's name, but when you see him and you look up his Wikipedia because you can't recognize anybody in this fucking movie, you know him from everything. He's been in so many different things. He's just one of those actors just ends up all the time in TV. Yeah, and we can actually kind of just blow through a lot of this because this really is just kind of setting up his final heroic thing. We learned that Nancy has been writing him letters every week for. He died too.
What's that? Oh,
Howard Booth. He died in.
Oh, okay.
In 2017.
Yeah. So the plan is to frame him up. They frame him for everything. They're basically trying to get him to confess to all the heinous things that have happened, including the death of the poop. This sequence contains. I will say it. This is the most disturbing thing for me in the film.
Oh, easily.
Which okay, good. Thank you. I thought I was gonna be alone in that. The prison beatdown when he's just getting beaten by that really weird, creepy dude. They got the hookery nurse who's there, Tanny, for no reason. Michael, why didn't you? What got you on this?
Okay, so it's not this part. It's later on when he finally takes care of the yellow bastard.
Oh no! That's number 2. That's number 2. Yeah. This is number 1, and the reason this is number 1 for me is I don't like seeing people beaten without any context, really. Or I don't like seeing people beaten without being able to defend themselves. Just people just getting brutalized is really hard to watch for me. Especially with this scene, because again, there is you get that stark red blood against black and white, right, which is always just gripping and visually unnerving. And there's a humiliation there too, and the humiliation is the stuff that really, really, really gets me. Where he's like, "See, she just turned her head away from you. She's disgusted by you." All that for no reason, right?
This scene really didn't need to be in there. It's just just showing that Bruce Willis wasn't planning on giving them what they want.
Right.
The only purpose ahead.
Yeah, it's the only reason. There's no joy in it. Like when Mickey Rourke is getting brutalized and beaten and have clubs and bats, he's actually enjoying himself, right? Because he's a crazy person. One of my favorite moments is they keep handing him confessions. He keeps spitting blood on them, and I keep laughing how many copies they had. Like that. At least there's a little bit of joy in it. Just kind of fun. even though it's brutal. But this is just sad, and this was more upsetting than the other thing, slightly more. That's still very upsetting, and unnecessary. But yeah, that piece really got me. So we find out he's in jail for 8 years in solitary. 8 years in solitary. What? Every week he gets his letter until one day he don't get them no more, and he wakes up and we see the Yellow Man. Now I don't think his name is Yellow Man. It's like Yellow Head.
Yellow Bastard.
Yellow Bastard. Okay, so we see Yellow Bastard, and who is visually grotesque.
Oh yeah,
this is grotesque. He is a monster unlike I've ever seen, because he's
it's the first time you see the color yellow in this movie.
Yes.
That's got to be said too.
No, you're right. It's visually, man, it is visually startling, because it's an abstraction of a person, just grotesque, just made. Yeah, grotesque. I keep saying the same word over and over again because I can't think of anything else. It's really unnerving. It's unnerving.
Star Trek character, what's his name? Worf?
Worf, yeah.
The general shape of his head kind of reminds me of that.
He's Worf-esque. he's a Worf-like. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. But we see him for the first time. He gets punched. He wakes up to the envelope, which has a finger inside.
That was creepy.
Which very creepy. Which has no real. But
hey, did you know that if you look at a finger, you can tell oh, this is from a 17-year-old girl?
Yeah, clearly. You know, I'm good at examining cuticles. I understand that's what that is.
That literally is a line from the movie for those who are like, what the fuck? Yeah,
is it really?
Finger. I mean, it's close to it. He said, this is a finger of a 17-year-old girl.
Well, he's a detective. He's a detective. So let's give him that much.
I don't think you can pick up a body part and tell me where it's from like that, other than this is human.
No. He knows it's a finger of a 17-year-old girl because the script told him so. So he just has to go with it.
The comic book told him so. What you meant?
Yes, the comic book told him exactly. So that breaks him. He realizes Nancy's in trouble, so he just admits to it all. To which they just let him go.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. Like, oh, we got your confession. Oh, yeah, get out of here. You're good.
It makes no sense. Why did they let him go? What?
Yeah,
I'm truly asking for any guidance here because I can't find any.
Nah, I guess they got the confession, and so they're like, "All right, our son." I don't know.
Why?
Makes no sense.
Put him out into the world so that everyone can mock him and spit on him. I don't know. It's bizarre. Didn't make any sense. Of course, his partner then shows up to give him a ride into town. I don't know why. I guess Mike Madsen needed another day's worth of wages. I guess. I don't know. Throw him another check. Find out his wife's remarried, and then blah, 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 blah. They have some boring dialogue. And then Yellowhead is right behind. And
this is when things get awkward.
This is when it gets awkward. This is very strange. This is not good. So
did you talk about the part with Nancy on stage yet?
No, this is where
we're getting to.
This is the part when Nancy's on stage.
When he goes to the bar, he goes to the club where Jessica Alba is. You see Yellow Man sitting there in a chair, so he starts to leave. Jessica Alba's character sees him, which is Nancy, which I didn't. This is when it clicked that like, oh, that's a Nancy, like that's the 17-year-old, the girl who was 11, who now is 18 or 19. Okay. She runs, jumps off the stage, and kisses him on the lips, and I'm just like, ha.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here.
I mean, it's like, you saved my life when I was 11, and I mean, it gets worse in a little bit, but I was just like, this is where the movie's going, and I'm going to just kind of fast it. But then after she kisses him, they get followed in the car. He shoots Yellow Man because they're following. He try and chase after him. I mean, that part was kind of cool where he lines up his shot and the other guy's shooting. He's like, oh, this guy has no patience. He just keeps shooting. He's a good shot, but he doesn't give it the time. And then he shoots him like right through the windshield, takes him out. You think he kills him. Right. I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool. And then they get to the house, and I just wrote in my notes, awkward. Because she starts hitting on him. She's like, I've never loved any other man. I've had a couple boyfriends, but I wasn't you. And I'm just like, why is this in this movie? And then they start kissing. I'm like, what are you doing?
He even says, like, I'm old enough to be your grandfather.
And that's what we're all thinking. We're all thinking, stop. Please stop. Don't do this. It's weird. It's not. It's so out of place. My cynical brain was like, I think the reason this exists is because when Bruce Willis signed up to be on this movie and saw that Jessica Alba is playing the lady he saves, he wrote in his contract, 2 smooches, just 2. That's all I need. 2 smooches. Then you got me. Got me for 7 days. But no, this makes no sense. It's the energy of this, of him wanting to save Nancy, is like, and he even says it in the car. You know, kind of like he never had a daughter. You know, he always wanted a daughter. His wife will make a good mom, right? So this is like a fatherly thing, right? He has a fatherly affection for this girl.
Why is he kissing her?
Well, yeah, well, right. You should just stand up, sir. Your legs work. Just run away. Just keep running around. It's a giant motel room, senselessly big, right, with one couch and a tail. Just go around in circles. Just run.
Just start playing the some stupid cartoon music.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like, that's all. I've been okay with that.
So his motivation is clear, like he does not want to. Her motivation is why? I don't know. I guess she's now in love with him. But again, it's like a fatherly thing. It is so strange, out of left field, doesn't make sense.
It doesn't
work, uncomfortable, and not in a fun way, right?
Is there uncomfortable romantic. In a fun way?
I said not.
I know, but it is.
Yeah, I can say there can be. Just not when you're dealing with a girl who was supposed to be 11 when she got rescued by a cop, and now she's trying to make out with him. It's 8 years later. No, there's nothing.
Yeah,
and other things, yes.
And the movie, of course, makes 100 different attempts to make sure you are aware. Yes, she's of age. She's 19. Yes, she's 19.
I could make a comment about
19.
An uncomfortable situation that was fun, but I do not want to say what's in my head at the moment. So we're just going to keep going.
Yeah,
but there are things I can think.
It's really a bad moment, and it just sets up Yellowface coming back and punching.
Well, he takes a cold shower because he's horny, and I'm just like,
well, yeah, exactly. It's
just leave.
I get it's Jessica Alba, but still, like, that's just
she's pretty, but still,
yeah, all of it's very uncomfortable and weird, and again, in a strange, without context way.
I mean, and after he gets punched in the shower, and you have hanging, as I wrote in my notes, hanging naked Bruce.
Yeah, hanging naked Bruce.
Like, I mean, you see Alba's, which, I mean, there's a lot of nudity in the movie, but you can see that either Alba said, no, I ain't doing it, because she's actually wearing clothes in this scene where he injects something into her to, make her pass out or whatever the hell he's doing.
Yellow juice.
Bruce is supposed to be hanging by his neck naked with the hand side on like a little table that's wobbling. But you're supposed to be naked. I mean, they skip his junk, thankfully, but it's just a weird ass part.
Yeah, because Jessica Alba's character, I think we said it's a stripper, and according to IMDb, she didn't realize how racy her character was in the comic.
Oh.
And the script originally had her doing nude scenes, and she absolutely refused.
Oh, see? That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, I'm okay with that. It doesn't,
good for her. Everyone has their boundaries.
If you need to see that, there's places that can take care of that. I don't need to see it in my blockbuster movie.
Yeah, I mean, but
I mean, it is when you're 13. If you're 13, okay, you need it in your blockbuster movie. But when you get of age, you're like, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Or Michael Bay.
Michael.
All right, so we are in the noose. Yellowface is basically on the phone saying, "Hey, set me up a party. We're gonna have a great time." He says they all scream 1,000 times. It's the 1,000th time he says that they all scream. Kicks out the table, and that's when Hannigan gets hung. Or does he? No, he just tightens his neck and grabs him.
That's how that works.
Yeah, it tightens his neck because that's how you save yourself from strangulation. He swings, breaks a plane of glass, snags a piece of said glass with his foot, somehow breaks his bonds, and gets it up 6 feet to his neck where the rope is. And the two guys who we haven't mentioned yet, the one who's very wordy and
the very articulate thugs.
Yeah. The articulate thugs, very, very funny. I had a good laugh. They're only on screen twice. Had a good laugh. They are quickly dispatched by Mr. Hannigan, and we go back to the farm.
They're talking about cars.
Yeah, they're talking about cars. I wish I had the whole quote. I would do. It's very funny, but it's a very good scene. I like those guys. Again, breaks up the tension. A good comedic beat, and again, well delivered. Goes to the farm. He approaches his bum ticker. I thought this was fixed. Well, call it a heart problem, sir. You're a 65-year-old man stalking a strange yellowface.
This is also when you see Elijah Wood's character is sitting there too.
Yeah, and you also have a lot of parallels too between Marv and him now. I don't know if that was intentional. Again, this is all coming from the book, the comic book. But again, he's saying things like "No need to go quiet now." He actually mentions being nasty again. Like kind of a lot of these Frank Miller beats are repeated here. So there's kind of like a correlation between Marv and Hannigan because they are both trying to rescue someone. Again, this kind of like extreme masculinity is happening or save the girl. very similar motivations. Actually, no, different motivations, but it's so you kind of have this bookend. This bookend is now setting itself up. We have a very uncomfortable scene where Rourke is whipping Jessica Alba. Again, just like you don't see anything. Thank God. That's the last thing you need to see. Well, we actually are going to see the last thing we need to see. The last thing we need to see, we're going to see, which
the end of this movie. That's what we need to see.
The end of this movie.
That's where I was at, because when I was watching this part, I was just trying to finish this movie, and I was just.
And you were doing a lot of shopping for like your house and stuff. I can imagine you like in Walmart or in Lowe's, like your wife was like
this part of all parts.
Yeah,
the volume was off, by the way, so.
So I can see you like with a shopping cart, kind of looking down at your phone, just continue to as you're putting your house together, and your wife's like, so what do you think about these curtains? I mean, I don't really think they go with the paint, but yeah, I think they might. The pattern's a little off. And you're like, and you're looking down. I'm
just watching my phone. I'm just walking through. I'm like, I got to finish this movie. I'm like, we're going to record in less than an hour. I got to get this over with. So yeah, that's when I was at this part.
Extreme,
but like, you're going to scream. I'm like, I'm so glad my volume is not on for this right now.
Yeah. So Nancy refuses to scream because he knows that's what gets him going. That's what gets him off is the screaming part.
I did like that part. After she kind of gets rescued, or she makes a comment, she's like, I guess what he said was right. You can't get off if I don't scream. I did like that. Like I liked her kind of, even though she's in a very terrible situation, kind of taking charge and not being that was cool. Like that I did like.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Bruce tells her before not to scream, no matter what.
No matter what, don't scream. So, and then Hartigan approaches. Catches Yellowface in the tummy with a knife. I guess. Yeah, I guess so. He hits her with
him or something.
Stabs him.
Yeah, because they have the parallel lines of look at that. You can't even lift that cannon. And he goes to lift the gun like he did at the beginning. He actually can't this time.
Right.
It's there.
Yeah, and then finally we get the coup de grace, which he gets stabbed, and then I'll let you, Michael, describe this.
No, I don't want to. This is the worst part of the entire movie. He removes his weapon. It's exact parallel line to where he says at the beginning, where Rourke's down. He's like, I take out his weapon, and he knocks the gun away, and he says both of them. And then the beginning's where he shoots him in the crotch. This one, he grabs a fistful of junk and tears it off.
Yeah, and like, it's
disgusting, rubbery, plastic looking. Like, it's clearly very, very fake. Of course. It's still super gross.
Yeah, and it stretches like taffy and like snaps back like a balloon breaking. So this is, I've talked a bit about lines, right? There's lines in life and in movies. This one crosses it. This is a line stepper. This is stepped over the line. This is so unnecessary. This is not fun. It's brutal in a way that can't be earned. I don't think you can earn this kind of brutality. And it's just unsettling and gross for the sake of being gross. I don't think I even liked it as like a 25-year-old who was into this sort of thing. This is just unnecessary, and it is highly disturbing. Even more disturbing is when he punches the man's face into literal goop. Again, you don't see it, but you see him on top of Rourke's body, and there is nothing that he is punching.
That line said after a while, it was just punching like bone chips into the floorboards or something.
Yeah.
Ugh, gross.
Just, again, extremely unsettling and gross. I guess that's kind of what they were going for. This is a gross out moment, but I think the context of it, I try to think of other gross out moments in other movies that are actually work, right? Again, like Reanimator. Reanimator has the famous, have you guys ever seen Reanimator? I doubt.
No.
Okay. So Reanimator is I'm not going to Reanimator, but it has one particular scene towards the end that is so patently offensive and gross and outside the bounds of what's okay, right? But for some reason, it's still fine because in the context of the movie, it's there it is. Yeah, you just sent us a picture of Reanimator.
I'm not opening that.
It's just a picture of the cover art of the poster of Reanimator.
It's safe.
But let's just say it's the let's just say it's the doctor's head with the lady on the table scene. Okay, everyone know if you've seen Reanimator, you know what I'm talking about. That scene is disgusting and should not happen ever in movies. But for some reason, in the context of that movie, it's fine. And I cringe as I say that because I don't want to say it's fine, but it's fine enough. Because again, that's what you're in. This is the movie you're in. This is the kind of the world you're in. A lot has happened to lead up to that. And this movie has earned a lot of goodwill. Sin City has not earned enough goodwill to rip off someone's genitalia in a taffy pulling style fashion and then beat that man's head into literal paint. It has not done that. And there's no reason for it except for just pure brutality and to be gross. And yes, it could be a reflection of the book if that's what the book says, the comic book says it does.
I stopped looking at the book because I just couldn't, I didn't care anymore, but I'm pretty sure it's probably right from the book.
I'm sure everything here is right from the book, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't excuse Mr. Rodriguez from doing that. It doesn't excuse Frank Miller, certainly, from writing that. You're allowed to make the art you want to make. I'm never going to say you shouldn't, but that is certainly not for me. And I just don't think that was, again, earned because it is horrendously unsettling. And I've seen worse in movies, but that's, yeah. And the White House is, I would say, a little worse than that. But so that's it. So, Mike, did you want to comment on it or?
Don't, just, yeah, I didn't like it.
Okay.
That's all I got. You said a lot.
I'm sorry. I feel like I've spoken 80% of this show.
The only thing you should be sorry for is that you suggested this movie for the show.
I am.
That's all you need to be sorry for. Everything else is completely fine.
I am not sorry for that because I did this on purpose. Sorry. We'll wrap up with that. But anyway, finally, the last bit of this movie is they take Nancy to the fancy car. He lies to her and says that, he's going to go after Rourke and set the record straight and clear his name. And she goes, okay, drives off, leaving him there with no method of conveyance. Like, what was he going to do? Take the bus now? Like, after all this happened? And then he realizes, or he knows that she's never going to be safe while he's alive. And the only way to defeat Rourke is to shoot himself. So he does in that beautiful white silhouette on black background way. Blam! And we get to our outro, which we get to, what do you guys think of the final coup de grace for Hennigan?
I cheered because the movie was almost over. But honestly, it was kind of like, well, wouldn't they kill her anyway because she was involved in the murder of his son? So I feel like she would still be a target. I mean, if he had just gotten out of jail and his son and none of that had happened, but it's like you just ripped off his son's dick. Like it's not going to be like, oh, it's okay, we're just going to let her go. Like, no, you're going to kill her too.
Yeah. He even says that they're just going to find her again. Like, we assume that she goes back to work.
Right. Yeah. We assume that she's still employed. So yeah, things aren't probably going to end well for her either. But that's his kind of way of saying.
Second movie, which we'll never watch on the show.
She is in the second movie. That's right. And so is Mickey Rourke. He's in that second one.
Okay.
I think. I don't remember. It was the second one.
I don't plan to find out.
Don't bother. I would never make you guys watch that. The first one's interesting. The second one is horrendous.
I mean, I would show up for it, but somebody else would be like, "Oh,
no."
Yeah, Mickey Rourke, Jessica Alba, and Rosario Dawson are all in the second one, and Bruce Willis.
Hey, what? What? How do you shoot yourself in the head and come back?
I don't know. Shoot me again, you pansies. So, no, that's wrong.
I mean, Rosario Dawson could maybe get me to watch it, but no, I'll watch Spirit with Scarlett Johansson. I'll be good.
All right. So anyway, we have that scene. I think it's like you guys said, I don't think it's going to save the day or anything, but it does make for a really evocative scene of him getting shot in the head and shooting himself. And again, in that beautiful, stark white on black background way, we get to our outro, which is Becky's in the hospital. Her arm was broken. Remember, because we completely papered over how Rosario Dawson, I think, did Dawson break her arm? Oh, and she ripped her earring out, which was a fun little moment.
I don't even remember that at all.
Oh yeah, that's when when Rosario Dawson finds out that Becky is kind of sold them out because Becky's like, the cops are the mob's gonna come back. We have to just make a deal. She gets in close and with her teeth rips her earring out in a very not pleasant way. As if there's a pleasant way to rip someone's earring out.
I thought she ripped out her neck or something. I didn't realize it was an earring.
No, it's her earring. It looks like her neck, right? But no, it's her earring. She has those long, dangly earrings. So Becky's in the hospital. She's talking to her mom. She goes into the elevator, and it bookends with the hitman, Josh Hartnett. Josh Hartnett, behind her, calls her by name, and I think she knows immediately what's going to happen. And then that's the end of it. That's our movie. Credits. And that
sweet credits.
Sin City 2005.
Have you ever been that happy to see credits?
Oh man, probably. I will say I don't think this is the worst movie I've ever seen. So
it's not. I mean, I've seen worse movies too.
It's not the movie I've hated most seen. I guess is a better way to put it.
It's I can't even say it's the worst. The movie I hated the most seeing for this podcast. I watched Double Dragon and a few other things.
God, no!
And I watched the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Double Dragon is god awful.
Yes, it is. So I can't say. I don't know for sure. Like, I'm not really looking at my list. I have a list, but we'll get there. Yeah, but it ended. I was just happy it was over with. That's what I want to say. But the bookend thing was weird because I just didn't even understand like the point of why Josh Hartnett's character's in there. I did like the fact he's like, "Do you want to? Here you go, Becky. Have a smoke." And she's like, she realizes immediately what's happening, and she just tells her mom, "I love you, bye," and hangs up the phone. And the movie ends. I mean, that was kind of cool. All right. Should we go to Shelf or Box?
Let's do it.
All right. We'll go with the most positive first. Mike, why don't you go first?
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
I hated this movie. I hated like every minute of this movie. Like, Bill knew exactly, like he said, he knew what he was doing. He knows my sensibilities and how this ticks off every box of everything I hate. And like, it felt like an hour passed, and I checked the Netflix queue, and it's like 15 minutes since the last time I checked. It's like, oh my god, does this movie ever end? It just went on forever. This is going in a box, wrapped in chains, and thrown into a lake.
Or the tar pits.
Oh, even better.
There you go.
And there'd be no Miho to save you.
Oh, I really want to see Miho as Kasumi now.
I have a feeling we're going to.
It's not streamable, but I need to see that movie now. So that's going to happen at some point. Well, we'll see. All right, I'll go next. This is not a hard one for me. This is going in the box. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed parts of it. The Marv stuff is fine. The Clive Owen stuff I enjoyed because I have a thing for apparently women in scantily clad with leather. So I enjoyed that. But when it came to like just the stuff with Bruce Willis and the movie overall, I just wasn't really. It wasn't my thing. Well, I will never watch it again. Am I glad I watched it? Kinda, because now I can say I watched since I've seen that movie. I recorded an episode about it, and and then I will plug the podcast. Other than that, I'm good. I will never watch it again. I never need to. It's going in the box, and it can stay in the damn box. How about you, Bill?
Ready for a shocker? This is going to go in a box. This is going to go in a box. Yeah, I don't need to see this again. And as I've done the show with you guys, I've kind of redefined, kind of like what Michael does, on what goes on the shelf. Right, the shelf is really for maybe A tier, maybe B tier films. This is a C tier movie for me. Seeing it with 40-year-old eyes. I have a lot of, again, kind of like, I don't know if we've done Blade yet, but kind of like Blade, where I have a lot of affection for it and fondness. I think this movie is visually stunning. We didn't talk a ton about the visuals because it kind of gets masked by a lot of the violence and the poor performances and such. But this is not a movie I need to really see again. But I do respect it for what it did. I respect the energy of it. I respect how much it serves the source material and basically is the source material. It's just the source material. That's what it is. There are a lot of the violence. I think a lot of the violence is fun and in character and in context. A good amount of it is not and just gross for the sake of being gross. And I like this movie. I still liked it. I still had a decent time with it. But it was one of those where I'm like, I can now put this deluxe box set of mine that I bought in 2006, and I could put into a box. A, because I can wait another 10 years before I see it and not have a problem. And B, I don't want my kid to find it and like take out the comic book that comes with it with all the nudity and violence. And like for you, like, hey, Dad, what's this? And like, oh, this is going in a box. So a box that's easily accessible if I feel like, I don't know, maybe if I'm 50 and feeling nostalgic, just toss it in again for one more spin around the world of Sin City.
Okay. I didn't expect all three of us to box this.
Did you really think I was going to put it on the shelf? I mean,
yeah, I did.
Yeah. Again, I've changed a lot of my ideas of what would go on the shelf has changed over the course of this. So yeah, no, this can go in a box. And actually, I literally might put this in a box again for the reasons that I've stated.
Well, I will literally delete it off my Netflix and never have to look at it again.
There you go. And I want to say one thing really quickly. I apologize. I wasn't trolling you. I really wasn't trolling you guys. I thought it would make for an interesting discussion because this is an extremely unique movie. Like, yeah, no one's ever seen anything like this before. And yes, probably never should see again. But like, it is a unique movie with a very beautiful visual style. I know you guys don't like violence, so I did choose this intentionally to just push you a little bit outside your comfort zone. But my intention was not to troll you. I wasn't trying to troll you guys or anything like that.
No, it's not really a bad movie. It's just not our kind of movie. I think it's a good way to put it. And it's it's also a more like if you're really into movies, like this is the art of a movie is probably really impressive to people like that. Like when you watch Silence of the Lambs, for example, like that is such a movie that you can just go over piece by piece, which we will at some point. And it's just like, that's kind of how I felt with this movie. It's something that was more of just like a spectacle, and it's where I just want dumb action with my superheroes killing each other, fighting each other.
Fair.
But
that's fair. Yeah, and again, this is artful violence and artful camp. I guess, which would be a good way of saying it. So, no, I get it. I just want to publicly apologize if I ruined anyone's evening /day/trip to Kmart. I didn't want to.
You ruined somebody's day, but he's on the show, so.
All right.
It definitely does have a unique style. I think I said that right at the top, that the way that only certain colors pop out of the black and white is really cool. I think that was the only nice thing I said during this episode.
That was it. And if we keep talking, I'll just convince you to like it. So we'll just...
It's a tall order, dude.
I know. All good. I think it made for a interesting discussion, if nothing else.
Sure. It did. All right, and I think we should go to wrapping up this episode. And if I can remember what the hell I want to say after all this long day. So if you enjoyed this episode, we do a bunch of other movies. We do the MCU, and at the time that you're hearing it, we already covered Phase 1 and Phase 2. So definitely check those out, because you want to hear us talk about Ant-Man. You want to hear us talk about how wonderful fire ants are, because we do that in that episode. So definitely check those out. We also do game episodes so every week we do games, so check those out. We got tons for you to follow and see what you like. There's some comic episodes. There's many episodes for you to check out. So definitely take a listen to all those. We got tons of things to keep you busy all day long. Also want to give a shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Bubby, a.k.a. Mike Stoney from ZP Bite to Bullet. Songs the Cool Kid Squad. Definitely give him a check out. You'll see a link in the show notes for him, for his YouTube channel. And I want to thank you again for listening to the episode. And please, if you enjoyed this, tell someone, tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell anybody. It's a great way to help the show grow, is let people know we need more listeners. I can do more with the show eventually. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, where I'm constantly posting new images and the upcoming episodes. I think I need to stop recording. All right, we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.